So today I wanted to go through and discuss a couple landing spots that I think would be good for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, disclaimer, I know he has to get traded. That we obviously know that part, and that's the part that kind of stinks about this. But he did mention in his press conference that he wanted to go to a team that was a contender, a team that would win, and a team that he could help win with him there. So that kind of helped me narrow it down to a few teams. Now, there's obviously a couple teams out there like the Buccaneers and the Saints. You know, those names have been rumbling around, going around. I just personally, for me, I don't think those two are necessarily the best spots. For the Buccaneers, Tom Brady retiring, and a lot of those guys came back on one-year deals. A lot of those guys are free agents, and some of those guys just may not even want to come back. So that team it's a huge question mark. Now, I know I'm talking like Jimmy G is a huge difference factor for a team. He's not. But going to Tampa Bay, just for me, wouldn't necessarily be the best spot because that team, as much as they probably don't want to rebuild, there's a good chance that it may take them a year to get back to where they want to be if they truly want to stay a contender with Tom Brady retiring. So I don't think Tampa Bay is necessarily the best spot. But with Bruce Arians as a head coach, I could still totally see that as a viable spot. The Saints, with them not having a head coach, with Sean Payton. If Sean Payton was there, I would definitely be like, okay, the Saints are a good spot. Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning head coach, a guy that a lot of people like. But with Sean Payton not being the Saints head coach, I don't think that move makes any sense whatsoever. And I don't think that's a good spot for Jimmy Garoppolo to go because it's a whole bunch of unknowns. And I wouldn't, for Jimmy to be traded to an unknown situation, especially with the situation where he said he wants to be in a winning culture. I don't, as much as the Saints, you know, they win a lot in the past, with Sean Payton not being there, I don't think that's a good fit. But let's get into the places where I think I have two that I think would be good places for Jimmy Garoppolo to be traded to. Now, before we get into that, I know people like to give Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of crap, which is very understandable. Now, some of that I could chop that down to coaching because sometimes Kyle Shanahan does call plays that just don't make any sense. There's times where there's no reason to be calling a pass play when he does it, or there's just sometimes that Kyle Shanahan's coaching is very, very iffy. But it's also a lot of it on Jimmy Garoppolo because if you read Twitter, you read everything that's going on. The second that Jimmy Garoppolo leaves the pocket, it's bad. He always tries to make a play, which he does. It just seems like he doesn't have the ability to do. He seems like he tries to do too much and goes out of the zone of what he's good at. But Jimmy Garoppolo as a game manager, I would take him in a heartbeat if you are desperate for a quarterback, which these two teams I have listed here are. But in 2 seasons, fully healthy, I know it's only out of 5. That's a big issue. He's very, very injury prone, which is something that teams will look at and be like, okay, maybe we don't sign Jimmy Garoppolo, which is completely understandable. I don't want a quarterback that's not healthy. Nobody would want that. You know, they could have all the talent in the world. They could have Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. And I know Tom Brady, we argue about his talent level, but he's so smart, and I know he's retired now. But if those guys are injury prone all the time, you're not going to get full seasons out of them. So that might scare some teams away from wanting Jimmy Garoppolo. But in the 2 full seasons, albeit he did miss a couple games this year, but in basically 2 full seasons as the 49ers starting quarterback, he made the NFC Championship game twice, which that's very, very hard to do. And that's something that I think definitely needs a light shine on it. It's not easy to go to it. Yeah, the Chiefs and Mahomes. I'm very thankful as a Chiefs fan that Mahomes is our quarterback. We made it to 4 straight AFC Championship games, and that team looks like they have no intentions of going backwards. But 2 championship games, it's very hard to even get there. And I think that's a great feat that Jimmy Garoppolo has. As I said, I think he's a game manager, but I think an underrated quality of Jimmy Garoppolo is his ability to manage a game, like Jimmy in the 4-minute offense, Jimmy in a 2-minute offense. That's one of the things that's so underrated about a quarterback. Like I like quarterbacks that are good under pressure in the 2-minute drill and can make a play. Like I know against the Rams, he didn't make a single play. Those last 2 drives were atrocious, and just to go out as a 49er like that, I bet it hurts him inside. But Jimmy Garoppolo, very good game manager, and that is somebody I would definitely want as a team. And I think he's definitely above average at the quarterback. And he may not be he's barely above average, I should say, but he's definitely still a guy. If you need a quarterback, teams will take it. And he made it to a Super Bowl. Like, to say that you've made it to a Super Bowl, his first full year healthy with the 49ers making the Super Bowl, I think that is a very impressive feat. You look at the Chiefs. Yeah, I know I compare the Chiefs a lot. I'm a fan. Look at the beanie. But they made it to 2 Super Bowls and they won 1. Just to win 1 is hard. It's very hard. You look at the 2 years of the 4-year AFC Championship run of the Chiefs. They missed the Super Bowl on 2 of those occasions, and then obviously when they made it against the Buccaneers, they lost. And I know the 49ers lost, but just to make the Super Bowl is as hard and tough as it is. Look at Dan Marino. He made it to 1 Super Bowl and never got back, but he is regarded one of the greatest of all time. You look at Aaron Rodgers. He's only won 1 Super Bowl, and he hasn't been back since. But he's still regarded as one of the greatest arm talents of all time. So to make a Super Bowl is absolutely insane. And you've seen guys that are bad win a Super Bowl. You've seen guys like Joe Flacco win a Super Bowl. So if Jimmy G, he's made a Super Bowl, that's something that needs to be a little bit more respected. And he's very likable. To handle the situation in San Francisco where he knew he probably was not going to be back, I think that's definitely something that Jimmy Garoppolo needs a lot of praise for. But I am talking a lot. So let's get into the 2 teams that I think would be a perfect fit for Jimmy Garoppolo to be traded to. Number 1, I have the Steelers. They have Mike Tomlin, amazing head coach, one of the best head coaches in the NFL, never to have a losing season. And the crap that he went through, having to deal with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback for the last couple of years, a guy that probably should have retired years before he actually did, is very, very impressive. I know they missed the playoffs, but to never have a losing season and to do it with a quarterback that was way past his prime is very awesome. And they have a great defense. Now, it was shaky last year, but a great defense can help a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, who does struggle at times. And they have obviously one of the top 3, I would argue, but there's definitely a top 5 defensive player on TJ Watt on that defense. And then you look at the offensive side of the ball, which Jimmy Garoppolo plays, obviously. He has a great young tight end in Pat Freiermuth, who I think, definitely came into his own at times during the season. And then Najee Harris, a great young running back out of Alabama who can definitely make plays. But the biggest issue, I think, are a few on the offensive side. The offensive line was not particularly well. It did not allow Najee Harris to run the ball as effectively as I'm sure the Steelers wanted to. And they have a very shaky offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. I am not a huge fan of Matt Canada and his play calling. It is not particularly well. And the play calling that he had, the amount of times on 3rd down that he would just throw behind the line of scrimmage, I think was just absolutely insane, absolutely nuts, and just unwarranted. And all the free agents that they had, they could lose Juju, James Washington, and Ray McCloud, which 3 guys on offense is a huge burden to come through. But if there's one team that I would go to or want to be traded to, even with, all the guys that could be leaving, it would be the Steelers, just because of the head coach and Mike Tomlin. He does such an amazing job at always rallying his teams. And even if they don't make the playoffs, they always find a way to have a winning record, which is something that's very, very impressive that Mike Tomlin does. And the next team I think would be a good fit for Jimmy Garoppolo to be traded to is the Denver Broncos. They were literally a quarterback away the entire season last year to making a playoff run. They have a Super Bowl level defense, and they have an offense that re-signed all the talent like Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. They have a young wide receiver and Jerry Jeudy, great running backs in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. And they have a defense that is Super Bowl caliber, that if they just had a quarterback that could do something, they would have probably made the Super Bowl. And they have new coaches. Nathaniel Hackett from the Packers is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Now, the only bad thing I think about the Broncos spot would maybe be the ownership. But to go to the Broncos, who are literally a quarterback away, and I'm pretty sure we would all take Jimmy Garoppolo over Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. I don't even think it's close. Like, Teddy Bridgewater, unfortunately, he was okay, but I think he managed the game of football, but he managed it way too much. And then Drew Lock's just Drew Lock. Like, he's not very good. But I think Broncos would be a good fit because, again, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is just above an above average quarterback. And I think he would make a good fit, make some good plays for this team, and especially with a great offensive-minded head coach coming in, I think that would be a great fit for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, those are the two teams I personally think would be a good fit for Jimmy Garoppolo to be traded to. Give me the teams you think Jimmy Garoppolo could be traded to down below, and I'll see you in the next one.